Oh yeah, let's get the party started.
You are the party starter.
I am the party starter. Actually, well, I'll tell the story right after I finish this song.
All right, that's fair.
After we introduce ourselves, just remind me. If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SBE sponsored podcast. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi, I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too. I miss everybody. As you know, I'm self-quarantining.
Always good.
Yeah, not well. Actually, it kind of sucked.
Not good, but
I
at least
mean,
you're doing the quarantine part.
You know,
That
another week
part's
from another week from now, I'll look back on this and it'll just be, it'll be nothing. Maybe
It'll be a time to restock your bar cart.
Yes, it'll be a perfect time to right over here. I don't know if I can get. There we go. It's running low now. Yeah.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah.
All right.
But what?
Well, welcome everyone. This is PlastChicks. I'm Lynzie Nebel.
And I am Mercedes Landazuri.
And with our powers combined, we are
PlastChicks. The voices of resin.
That's us.
I just dropped my pen. Wow. Well, this is going to be a fun one.
We're off to a great start.
At least we're color coordinated.
We are. Man, we are on it today.
You know, that's important to me. So I'm a design application lead at Techmer PM. I serve on several boards for SPE.
And I am a plastics engineer at Tech Tank in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm on the executive board as the vice president of member engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Very fancy.
Yeah. And so we started the podcast a little over a year ago. Actually, I think we officially did our first recordings, which never were published, haven't been published, January 3rd or something of 20-something.
20-something.
2018.
Been 16 years. It's fine.
Yeah, it's been about 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you can listen to our podcast, PlastChicks, anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify,
all those places.
Chicks, one word, look it up. Or if you just look up PlastChicks under podcasts, apparently we are one of the popular ones. We're some of the big kids now.
Look at us go.
So we love to record them together when we are together in person at real live in-person conferences. But as these conferences have moved to virtual, we are oftentimes doing lunch sessions.
Yep. And we respect the quarantine.
We're respecting it.
All right. Well, do you want to introduce our awesome guest today?
Yes, I am super excited to have her on. Met her a few years ago. She has also been very involved in SPE. And recently, she's been in some pretty exciting news publications about a project that she's working on. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Pavani Cherukupally. And I'm saying that last name with a question mark. Is it Cherukupally?
It's about right.
Perfect.
Great. So you are an inventor, writer, scientist. You've done some consulting for BASF. When I met you, you were a PhD candidate. Now you've earned your PhD, doctor. But yeah, tell us about a little bit about yourself.
I am a research associate right now at the Imperial College London, and my educational degrees are all are in mechanical engineering. And I come from India. Until undergrad, I did it in India, and masters and PhD I did it in Canada at University of Toronto. However, as part of my PhD, I also did part of the research at Imperial College London and at MIT. And now again, I'm back at Imperial College as a full-time research associate. And at Imperial, I'm working for both BASF and on my personal projects with Research England, UK Research and Innovation.
Mm-hmm. And so when I met you, you were getting your PhD at University of Toronto, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And very involved in the local SPE chapter.
Yes, I was. Yes.
Uh-huh. Had some, and you were a big advocate, not just, this is one thing that I really, really love about you, doctor. I wanted to call you Pavani, but now I'll call you
You can call me
Just
Pavani.
doctor.
But you were a huge advocate of students getting their works published. I remember one of our first conversations was about, well, how do we push these papers out to the topical division newsletters and things like that, which is just really fantastic that you're such a champion of your fellow students.
Yes, yes. I love like writing process. That is like what I found in my experience is actually like I myself being a second language speaker, I struggled a lot during PhD. Like I had like my very first experiment worked in the PhD. However, I couldn't able to communicate why this specific material works for this new application. And I thought I'm the only person, but later on, after working with so many undergraduate and masters and PhD students, I learned that it is like everyone's problem.
Mm-hmm.
And actually we need to reinforce like how to present these scientific insights from undergraduate level, where the discipline, like more and more it becomes more discipline oriented. And what I found is that actually we lack that kind of system. Like, until we come to PhD, like we are not being taught like how to present our novel insights that we bring to table. That's the reason I was like fighting for like, let's give opportunity to these students, which actually need that. It is not
Yes.
only like to do PhD, like even if you go to like industry or go to business, you always have to present yourself, what you that you know, what you can bring it to the table. And we don't have that system.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like trying to promote through newsletters or promoting like article competitions for at undergraduate level.
Yeah. And the more, people see your work and question your work or even just approach you about your work, the more comfortable you get with it. I remember not that I was ever a PhD candidate, no. But, even as an undergrad, we had classes on presenting and, stuff like that. And I remember the first time I don't even remember what the question was, but it was softball and I just faltered. And you just keep every week you reshare new data, all that stuff. And by the end of the semester, you probably could have woken me up, got me out of bed, and a minute later, I could have given you a flawless explanation of our project. It's that practice and
right. It's something that seems maybe foreign to, or seems a lot of times, and I think previously was not part of the education plan, right? For engineers. It's important. And I keep wanting to call you Pavani, but I'm doctor again. Completely identify with you on the second language thing. As you know, I've also studied in other countries, other continents, and had to do so in different languages. And the hardest thing for me was when I was in college in Russia was even sometimes kids. I remember in Russia it's different because they didn't have borders open to foreigners, once upon a time, and so the place where I was living, there were very, very few foreigners. And I remember maybe a 12-year-old kid that I was talking with, that a friend and I were just happened to talk with on the street. And he was like looking at me, he's like, is there something wrong with her? Like, is she, and it was like, and my landlady, who was kind of like my host mother, was also like trying to explain to other people when I was new, I'd studied the language for a couple years in college and I'd already been living there for 4 months. And still it was like, I came across like people, I felt like people thought that I was stupid, because I couldn't articulate. I couldn't find the words. Even if I looked up, the words and wrote them all down, people are just like, okay, like it wasn't a compelling enough. It wasn't concise enough. So now we're already completely off topic, as I warned you about.
We always do that.
But it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm glad that you bring it up because, we talked, we had, was it Dr. Saranjana, or Professor Saranjana was on before. We talked about educational systems, but we really didn't talk about the struggle that international students face. And this applies to any industry or any field, right? Where you have these amazing capabilities and amazing research that you've done, but to be able to push it out to the industry, to push it out to the market, is a struggle all on its own.
Agreed.
But yeah, so, but to get
Back on path.
so how did you're from India originally, and you've studied the world. How did you come into the polymer industry?
Actually, like I came into polymer industry early on. Like in India, we have this program, like after middle school, you can pick your engineering specialization, and I was part of that program. Fortunately,
Awesome.
at the time, yes, thank you. I was in mechanical engineering program. However, like we had this industrial visit at a polymer processing organization. And like there I saw like how this polymer is being produced, like how it is extruded and injection molded. I was very fascinated by the process of it, like coming this viscoelastic material coming out of it and making like becoming this straws like within like a couple of minutes. And I actually ended up designing like plastic washers for my last year project. And I thought I'm going to start a company. But again, I decided to let's go to undergrad.
Yeah.
But luckily, again, I got the opportunity to come back to polymer industry in PhD, again to design like this polymer sponges for water treatment. This is time like when I just wanted to stay in the industry. I don't want to leave now.
Yeah. And so you did undergrad in Canada, or you did undergrad in India and then PhD in Canada?
Yes, I did undergrad in India and PhD in Canada.
And so, well, actually, and now just because we did have an agenda, I feel like through.
Our agenda is just a suggestion.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about. Okay, so you moved to the UK back in January.
July, like exact 1 year.
A year.
Oh, a year ago. Okay. So you had time to settle in, and how has your work and your research changed with the current situation?
You mean the COVID situation?
Mm-hmm.
COVID situation actually been very productive for me. like I do a lot of multidisciplinary project and work with multidisciplinary research people and multicultural people. Mm-hmm. So it is extremely hard to navigate like you need to do science, which is a lone work. And again, you have to work with all these people and try to understand their language and speak their language, which is like, I was going through like a really hard time juggling through all these things. But COVID, this 4 months gave me an opportunity to actually step back and introspect and also visit my work itself and develop a priority list. Also, I managed to write one manuscript, which is like gone through peer review process now at a top journal. Like I'm happy about that. So
wow.
I think I accomplished enough in 4 months.
I'd say you did a pretty good job with your quarantine.
So I mean, like I think I posted a video the other day to TikTok, which who knows how long that's going to be around in the US. But yeah, what I've accomplished mostly is gaining weight and increasing my alcohol tolerance.
Love it.
To you, doctor. That's up to you.
Yeah, I perfected my online ordering skills. I'm very good at it.
Well, you accidentally order a lot of booze though, Lynzie.
I accidentally order a lot of stuff. Booze related, whatever, maybe.
You're a very good virtual gift giver.
I am a very good
male gift giver. Yeah.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with one of your big projects is obviously this sponge project. Do you want to just kind of go into a quick introductory about what this is?
Sure. So like I have been using polymer sponges for water treatment since around like 2014. And I stumbled upon this material. Actually, like we were trying to like this, because I'm in Canada, like let's step back, like I'm in Canada and the project that I've been hired for is like this reclaiming Canadian oil industrial wastewater. And like right now, as you may know, like Canada has like over 1 trillion liters of oil contaminated wastewater, and they have no idea how to reclaim that.
We don't know. We're from the United States. We know nothing about Canada except that there's active president.
I'm very Canada adjacent. I mean, Buffalo, growing up from Buffalo, like I got a lot of Canadian television. So I feel a little Canada in my heart.
That's good
How
because
many
like
states
all
are
this
there,
West Coast and East Coast, they like work like closely. Even I also go to Niagara Falls to do shopping.
See, that's
The
only like
mall.
a half hour from my parents.
See, I'm more of like a BC, formerly,
Mm,
just because I grew up in, spent 10 years in San Francisco, but then 8 years in Oregon. And we would go on choir trips. Well, let's not talk about my choir trips, but yeah, to Vancouver and Victoria. But
my field trips were Toronto. So
it's
like,
kind of like, definitely Oregon and Washington associate themselves with British Columbia than with California.
So this problem is more related to British Columbia area more than Niagara Falls, because like the oil pipeline from Canada is actually coming through British Columbia to Seattle and California. So like that's why like right now like a lot more oil spills are predicted. And on top of that, Canada itself, the Alberta province itself stores over 1 trillion liters of oil contaminated wastewater, which spans around like 200 plus kilometers in that region. And because of this wastewater, like over 70% of wildlife has declined in that area, because the poor animals, they don't know, they come and they drink this water and they like end up like dying.
Yeah.
So which is like a huge environmental problem in that province, because it is also affecting the public health when this water seeps into the ground. So there has been a lot of efforts going on in developing a like cost-effective technology to reclaim this water. It is not like lack of like desire, but like the water is so complex, so it is like really hard to clean with a like membrane technology alone, which is like becomes very expensive because of membrane falling. So like my idea was to actually use these foams as an absorbent, which is like the technology itself exists like for almost a century. It is not like a brand new idea. It exists for over like about 90 years. However, the challenge was lack of materials to apply this kind of technique to capture these oil droplets. And that's where like, because I had some background in polymers, like when I was in like in my diploma program, I came across these polymer properties, which are like, they're so cost effective, easy to manufacture. That's why like when we want to design mechanical systems, like this kind of material is what we need. Like if we want to use like a cost effective treatment of anything, and if they are easy to manipulate, that's why I went to these foams to capture these oil droplets. But however, over the time, like when we started to pitch this to industry people, like who are in the field, they were like, oh, okay, treating water alone is not incentive enough to tackle such a huge problem. And they were interested in actually what kind of incentive we can get. Then while brainstorming with them, like again, I came up with the idea, actually, why don't we actually recover this oil, which would have some economic value to it. And with further studies, I found that actually like global oil industry is actually interested in recovering this residual oil from the water, which is otherwise a toxic waste. And I was like, yay. now I can offer an incentive, like not just the low cost material, which is also reusable, by the way. Then I could able to like develop a method, like a new method, like where we can actually capture the droplets and also recover the oil. That's the publication that you are referring to, which was published in Nature Sustainability. And also the editor highlighted it in their journal, which was like very good publicity.
And there was even an article about you in Hindustan Times too.
Yes, like people are very impressed, but because like such a like the material, the sponge I was using like a normal mattress kind of polyurethane. Mm-hmm. And actually people were impressed, like with this kind of like ordinary material, we could tackle such a huge problem, which like Canadian oil industry trying to find solution for the past 20-30 years.
Mm-hmm. So obviously this problem was more focused in Canada, and so you were privy to it and thinking about it. Did you choose this as you read about this problem and then just suddenly had an idea, or it was like, oh, this is a big problem, let me tackle this? Or was there something like, was there a deeper inspiration for you?
Like for me, like I was actually working on VOC's reclamation from automotive industry, like the car paint process, which releases a lot of VOCs. And I was working for General Motors on like reducing those emissions.
Mhm.
Because I was working on that, this project was offered to me, like water treatment using foams. But like I was not personally connected to oil industry because I have no background in the petrochemicals or petroleum. However, like I do had like a close, I could associate myself with the water problem. Like when I was very young, like in my state, like our state is more agriculture based state, but we had like a drought for over 10 years. Like California also has drought, and but the repercussions for us very different. Like there was this drought and all the farmers were going under debt, and like there was hundreds of thousands of farmers were committing suicide. At the same time, in my hometown, like right next to my home, like within 0.5 kilometers, there was a lake which was heavily contaminated, and we actually did not have drinking water, and we would get tap water once in a week. But we had this dirty lake, which would like, because of its contamination, it was causing all the health problems to the neighboring people. So I could see the relation, like, okay, actually we can solve this water problem if I could able to tack. And I could also see the connection between this organic contamination in domestic wastewater versus oil industrial oil droplets. That's why I focus on the micropollutants, and that's how I could able to tackle that oil problem. Like people think oil industry is rich, but when it comes to water, like it is like developing countries, whatever the restrictions we have, the same developed countries have the same kind of restrictions. That was the main motivation factor for me to work in the oil industrial wastewater.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good motivation right there. So with this project, do you have plans to kind of move this project forward? Do you plan to kind of like branch off and work on other aspects of this project? Have you taken this project as far as you can take it, and now you got some new cool thing to think up, or what are your plans?
I'm doing both. Like I'm still working on the oil and gas side of it for developing it further in the UK. And actually we got like research facilities access from UK Research and Innovation, because BP is based in UK. It is easier to develop it further in the UK. And the other aspect that I branched out is like a pathogens removal from wastewater, because the sponge is such an affordable material. We can actually go back to this developing countries problem, which I was talking about my hometown. The same problem is happening in Rwanda, like Kigali city, which is a capital city. Right now, Rwanda is like, it is going to be a new Singapore, like a new Singapore of Africa. It is extremely rapidly developing country. It is very small. They got like their freedom like in 90s, but the people are so driven there. They are developing their country so rapidly. It is rapidly undergoing through the urbanization and industrialization, but this is all happening near on the coast of a river. But at the same time, the local people don't have access to like a clean water. Like industrial wastewater is released into this river, the same water is consumed by people. So like I'm trying to use this technology to tackle this organic and biological contamination with the help of government, and use it and doing some pilot study there.
This is incredible. Like, Doctor, you are people talk about plastics, 5 years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, I viewed plastics as, the antithesis of environmentalism. I thought it was just all bad for the environment. Now it's like,
you were so wrong.
Yeah, I was so wrong. But the projects that you're working on, Doctor, like, I mean, it's you're changing the world for the better. You're your developments in your passion, right? Because it's not just a standalone paper, right? Just knowing that you know you are working on this project for the oil and gas industry, but now with your background in the framework and understanding the problem, you know, of the, you know, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. You know, it's incredibly inspirational, and I'm so happy that I'm in this industry.
Do you on your resume, do you put like I save the world, or like how do you summarize that on your resume? Just asking.
Well,
Not that I will put that.
on my resume, I don't put anything like that, because in academia, like they want like objective, like evidence-based, analytical. However,
they're no fun.
Yeah. However, on social media side, I do emphasize that I want to work on like pressing problems that society is facing. Like one of them is water, but down the line, I also want to work on the electricity, which is another huge problem. Like, although like we see like here, like in Canada, like I rarely ever experience any electricity shortage, but in developing countries, especially for my childhood, I spent many evenings like with the candlelight, and you have to still compete in the education system to be able to get into college. But it was like, my God, it is such a harsh time, and I don't want other people to go through what I went through. So electricity is one thing I want to work on, again, where I want to use polymers. But for now, like I'm focusing only on the water treatment side. And I do highlight those on my social media, like introduction.
Save one industry at a time.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the electricity speaks to me. You know, when I was in Russia, and we had an afternoon class, which in the winter it was, you know, dark outside, and it was a poetry class where we would, you know, read Russian poetry, and the lights went out, like, and it was dark outside, so we couldn't see anything, you know. And it was like you know, the Americans thought like, okay, well now we'll just leave. You know, we get the evening off, the afternoon off. But then our professor was then, you come up with solutions, right? When you're faced with these kind of situations. So she just started reciting poetry that she knew from memory. But it's, you know, when you experience those kind of difficulties, your brain develops, right, in a way where you are, you know, have to be more of a problem solver just to survive, right? Just to get an education. So that's
how you become innovator.
Yeah, exactly. Your comfort zone will kill you, right?
Yes.
So, so what is next for you? Are you planning to stay in academia? Are you planning to go to industry? You're gonna start your own company? What's next?
Like all three are options for me, because like I can adapt to any kind of industry. But for me, the core is like I want to work on practical solutions that can have like a quicker and profound impact on people's lives. So like right now, like I'm opening myself to all three types of jobs, but whoever will give me the best resources to be able to achieve that, I will get into that path.
Well, either way, you're still going to be amazing and do amazing things. There's no stopping you.
Thank you.
I don't say that to a lot of people. I'm very judgy.
She's very judgy. She's super judgy.
Very judgy.
Well, all right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been an awesome interview. You're the coolest.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Huge inspiration. So this interview will be posted. We're doing them, and then they're going out a few months later on is it the first Friday of every month or the last
Friday of every month?
Friday of every month.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Pavani Cherukupally, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.